Hi, and welcome back to another video. And today I will be talking about or doing my February 2025 governor election predictions. As of in January, I said starting by January 2025, I will be doing these predictions every month on what I believe the election would look like if it was held right now in February of 2025. And I'll be doing this every month until we get to the November 2025 governor election predictions that will help paint us a picture on how Americans are really feeling about Donald Trump's presidency. Now, remind you, we are a month into Donald Trump's presidency, and his approval rating is already sinking. It is already at 0.7%. 0.7%. The beginning, we were at 8 points, and it has fallen 8 points in a matter of a month, just a month. Right, the approval ratings began. This graph began January 24th. It is now February 26th. So we have about a month of this polling data we have been seeing, and Donald Trump's approval has gone from 49% or even 50%, the highest it's ever been, 50%, having an 8-point advantage over the disapproval. Now going from that to 47%, and now only having a zero point 0.7 approval. Now, Donald Trump's approval has survived longer than his first term, which only lasted a little bit about 2 weeks. We are now like 5 weeks into this presidency, and Donald Trump is still a popular president by his approval rating. But it seems that it will be going in the negative numbers around his State of the Union address, as I predicted before in my previous videos. But Donald Trump's approval is not what I'm going to be talking about here. It's going to be the governor elections of 2025, because that will matter, especially that has to do along with Donald Trump's approval, where we will be able to look at that and try to guess where how the elections would go if they happen today or when they happen in November. But as of right now, Donald Trump still has a positive approval rating of 0.7%. Sure, much smaller than what it was back in January, but as of right now, he has a 47 approval rating, which seems low if you compare it to other presidents like Biden or Obama or Clinton or even Bush. Or even you really can't use Trump's first term as an example because that was even worse. Uh, but yeah, his approval is very, very lower compared to presidents in this time around. Like if you go to Biden, right? If you go to Biden around this term in Biden's presidency, he was very popular. Um, if you go, so today's February 26th. If you go, oh, sorry, it's not loading. If you go to February 26th, around February 26th, right around here, look, Biden had a positive approval of over 17 points. 17 points. His approval standing at 54%. His disapproval standing at 37%. Obviously, that only lasted for about half a year until everything went south for the rest of his term. But at that point, Biden was a very popular president. He had, I mean, sure, he started off with an approval of around 20 points, getting all the way up to like 23 or 26, and his lowest obviously being when he left office with an approval of 37. But, it still stands at that point. And around this time in Biden's presidency, he had a very, very, excuse me, he had a very popular approval rating compared to Trump. And we can even look at Barack Obama here if it allows us. I remember there was this. Okay, so here, yeah, where you can compare it to other. Okay, so yeah, you compare it to other. If this loads, so right, Donald Trump also there in his first term, right, he didn't even get to 50%. Unlike in his second term, which has him performing a lot better, and even Obama, but still, Donald Trump's approval as of right now is sinking, and that is not something he wants to be happening while we get to these governor elections. So yeah, I don't, it, but yeah, there's so these governor elections, right? We have the big two. We have Virginia and we have New Jersey. Now, Virginia is much more favorable to the Democrats, like I mentioned before, and New Jersey it's going to be much more interesting to watch, in my opinion, because in 2021 Republicans came very close to winning this but fell short, and Phil Murphy was able to win re-election. However, Virginia was a different election, because you had a terrible Democrat candidate that lost because he was campaigning on simply the wrong things, and that gave the Republican candidate and the current governor, Glenn Youngkin, a win of just about 2 points. Now, Glenn Youngkin can't run, which is why his lieutenant governor is the Republican frontrunner to win the nomination, and you also have Spanberger as the Democratic frontrunner for the Democrat nomination, which they will both likely get. They are both females. Whoever wins the election will become the first female governor of Virginia. However, Virginia is going to be, or already is, much more favorable to the Democrats. As you can see here, we go back, because Spanberger is proving to be a very, very popular candidate here, or very effective candidate here when it comes down to Virginia. She is performing very well in the polls. She is doing very well overall when you compare her to Spanberger. And we just had another poll yesterday that came out, where she performed by 15 points against Sears. Now, it is still very early, right? It is still very early. But as of right now, Spanberger still is the clear favorite. And for all these polls we've gotten, Sears hasn't been able to lead Spanberger a single poll, not even the Republican-funded one. This one is Republican-funded, and Sears and Spanberger are even. And this was about a month ago, and we just got this poll the other day that has Spanberger up by 15 points. 15 points. And like I said, this is going to have to do with Donald Trump's approval rating, which is right now standing at 0.7%. So as of right now, I still believe, as I said last month, that Spanberger is the clear favorite. And as of right now, I think that Virginia is likely down. I think it is likely down. Now, New Jersey is definitely it's still it's a very complicated race, because Phil Murphy is ineligible to run for re-election. So we have this, this open election there, or this, open primary, for both sides of the parties, both Democrats and Republicans, and the Democratic field is very, very big. Now, the Republican primary probably is already decided with the former nominee, or the previous nominee in 2021, who he ran. He only lost by a couple points to Phil Murphy. He's looking to run again, and it looks like Republicans are probably going to back him. Donald Trump could endorse him. Donald Trump really hasn't commented on any of these 2025 governor races. He seems to be much more interested in 2026, as that you would matter as a president in his second term. But we have a lot of candidates on the Democrat side. Now, this race is really hard to predict as of right now, because on the Democratic side in this primary, you have so many of these candidates. And so to be able to predict on who would win, you'd had to predict on who would win the Democratic nomination. And despite having all these candidates, and some of these polls we've been given, we haven't really gotten a poll yet in a couple of weeks. So we don't know as of right now where this primary is shifting, but it looks like Sherrill is the winner, or these polls are saying. However, most of these are Democratic funded polls, as you can see here. So until we get a poll that really, like even this one, this is a Mike Sherrill, it's a Mike Sherrill poll, right, that has him up by 13 points. So all these have Sherrill up, but they're all Democratic funded poll. And until we get a very recent poll that isn't funded by Democrats, I think that, the primary for, this race in this party for this governor election, still very, very tricky to predict. And like I mentioned before, it's hard to predict the race when you are uncertain on who the Democratic nominee is, which is why it's very tricky to be able to predict these, elections all the way in February, when you're predicting an election that's going to happen all the way in November. But still, it's going to be interesting to see how these predictions, come out once we get into November here. But let's say, right, the election takes place right now. Obviously, probably if the Democratic funded polls are accurate, which still you never know, but if they were accurate, right, Sherrill obviously gets a nomination, and then Jack Jack gets the Republican nomination since he ran in 2021. He barely lost, still lost though, and he runs. Now, if you were to ask me, who would I think would win in this hypothetical election? Well, I don't think we've really gotten it. Like, we got Republican, we still don't have an actual general election poll, so still very, very hard to predict. However, we do have some data on Trump's approval rating in New Jersey, which currently stands at 42%. Now New Jersey is overall it's a blue state, but Kamala Harris barely won it. She only won it by a couple of points. It was a horrible performance for a Democratic presidential candidate. And despite her winning it, she underperformed very, very, very bad. And it's sending alarm bells off for Democrats who are New Jersey, or just New Jersey Democrats that are looking to win this governor race. However, fortunately for them, Donald Trump is president. As of right now, Donald Trump's approval rating is crashing as we speak. And Donald Trump's approval could be, once again, in the negative numbers when we are entering March, which way, way off from when the election is supposed to take place. So my last prediction for this race in January, where I said, I believe I had this race. Yeah, I had this race, the Republicans winning it, because Donald Trump's approval, if you remember, Donald Trump's approval was much better than where it was now. In January, when I last predicted, at the end of January, yeah, Donald Trump's approval was much, I predicted this race. My January prediction video came around the end of January, and Donald Trump's approval was at 7 points. Donald Trump's approval was looking very good. Now that we are a month later here, Donald Trump's approval is at 0.7%. 0.7%. So, I am not going to say that I think that Republicans are going to be winning this race. What I do think is going to be happening here is that Oh, I'm so sorry. I accidentally. Okay, so what I think is going to be happening here is that the Republicans are not going to win this race. As of right now, Donald Trump's approval is not looking very good. So if you were to ask me right now who would win this election between Mike Sherrill and Jack become the Republican nominee and the Democratic nominee, I would have to tell you that I think it's going to be the Democrats, but it's going to be very, very, very close. It's going to be a toss-up, and it's going to be very close. But this is, a good performance for Democrats. They're able to pick up 2 governor seats, certainly going to help them in the midterms, and Democrats are going to be probably much more comfortable once they have a Democrat governor sitting back in the Virginia governor mansion. In New Jersey, keeping Democrats, despite Kamala Harris barely winning the the election in New Jersey, and Trump coming dangerously close from taking back New Jersey. And I think if Biden ran, Biden probably would have lost New Jersey. But Biden is irrelevant now. We have Donald Trump, and his approval rating is sinking. And because of that, because of his very, very low approval rating, I do think that Democrats would be able to hold on to New Jersey, but by a very, very, very small margin. And it would certainly be a toss-up race, and it would probably be as close as 2021 would be, only because New Jersey has shifted right. It has shifted right much more than Virginia has. Biden in 2020 won Virginia by 10 points, and Harris won Virginia by 5 points in 2024, and Harris only won New Jersey by 3 points, 3 points, which is a 2-point shift if you compare it to Virginia to New Jersey. It's a 2-point shift for New Jersey than Virginia. So New Jersey has shifted much more right than Virginia has. So I think Virginia, probably a likely Democrat. Sears is turning out to be a very, very poor candidate, and I don't think she'll be doing well in any future polls. And as for New Jersey, I think Donald Trump's unpopularity will help Democrats, be able to keep on to that governor's seat and be able to, if Mike Sherrill is the nominee, I mean, that looks like that's what's happening there. If we go back here, but Mike Sherrill, still, we only have Democrat funded polls. So still, we aren't entirely sure, and the primary is still a couple months away, and we're going to see what's happening. But as of right now, I do think that Spanberger wins the Virginia governor race, and if Mike Sherrill's the nominee, which looks like that's going to happen, then yeah, he wins the New Jersey governor race, but by very, very close margins, around 1 to 2%. Spanberger will probably win by 8 to 10 points. A complete reversal to when Trump lost to Virginia just by 5 points in 2024. So yeah, that is where I think these elections are as of right now in February. Now, these elections aren't taking place in February, they are taking place in November. But yeah, we will see where, what happens in November, and if my February 2025 election predictions are accurate. If they are not, if they are, I've been right and wrong, and we will see what happens in November. But anyways, that is the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.